All right. Hi. Welcome to Creative Mornings. We are here coming to you live from the studio of Boefar and the Boer. Those are our teammates Elina and Iskander. And they generously lent us our studio their studio for the second time. So we can continue to do these events until we can see all of you at a live one in the future somewhere. So super awesome that you're tuning in for now. What we want to ask of our community is to react, to like. If you like something, if you don't like something, let us know as well. But we want to hear from you. So let us know how you're feeling this morning. We want to do a special shout out to Lodo, who's at home. He's tuning in from there. So we hope you're doing okay there. Then, a little bit about Creative Mornings. For those of you who have never been to our events or who are just tuning in for the first time, we are in 215 chapters or cities around the world in 67 countries with over 20,000 attendees per month. That's 8,000 talks online, 9.1 million views. It's a lot of numbers, but it shows that Creative Mornings is around the world and that people appreciate it. And yeah, we hope you like this session as well. So we couldn't do this without our sponsors. We've got MailChimp, who has an interesting event coming up. It's called the Virtual Book Festival, and it's called Buy the Books, and it features a collection of emerging voices, and it's a call to stand by new ideas, so you can check it out on their website. Then WordPress, Basecamp as well. Then something fun for if you're bored in the house, which I can imagine a lot of people are around the world, check out Field Trips. It's on our Creative Mornings website and gives you a cool insight into people's lives, studios, lifestyles. Yeah, fun. So next to our global partners, we also have our local partners, Hike One, design platform Rotterdam, and coffee from Man met Bril Coffee in Rotterdam. So now that all of the shout-outs are out of the door, we'd like to give a few minutes to our community. This is a really cool project. This is sent to us by Ellis, so thanks for that. If you want to read it, please pause the video here. That's the beauty of live or filming these events. You can just pause it and just take your time to read through it. Basically, Signs of Change, which is also how you can find them on Instagram, is calling all designers to create an impactful message advocating positive change in the world through design. So this is a good opportunity for you to use your skills to support a movement like, for example, the Black Lives Matter movement to fight systemic racism today. So this is just one way that you can do that as a designer. So reach out to them for more information. Now, we come to the point of our talk where we show our theme. As some of you might know, we skipped last month's theme of Underdog. But that's okay, shit happens, I guess. And we decided to come back this month with the theme Stress. So this is the Warsaw chapter, and the illustration is by Shani Benjamin. And for this theme, we have an amazing speaker, Jasper Scholten. He's called a Millennial expert. We at the team have changed it a little bit to say Millennial Guru, just because that sounds a little bit more groovy. So guru and expert on all things millennial, because of his lived experience as one, and the research that he's done. He's a highly wanted speaker, consultant, and trainer on all things millennial related for companies and young professional networks. And as a result of all of this, he has created a book, Het Millennial Mystery. For now, it's still in Dutch. He has an amazing podcast also in Dutch. And he's co-founder of Millennial Lift, which is for now as well in Dutch. But from our conversation before, he's slowly moving to a little bit more of an international platform. So we're really excited, interested, and willing to hear what he has to say for us this morning. So I'm going to give it away to Jasper.
Great. Thank you, Joey, and all the team here for hosting me. I feel very honored. Also a bit very, very shy and modest also with the whole Millennial Guru title. I see myself more as a person, as a millennial, as one of you all. But I want to share with you some insights today. So it's a big topic, stress. There's so many themes, perspectives we can have around stress to explain it. What are the underlying rationales? What are the underlying causes? But for today, because I only have about 20 minutes, excluding a Q&A, I want to focus on a couple of themes, more the psychological theme of stress. And I think it's very interesting also to talk about it now. Okay? We can talk about burnout, not because of the warm weather, but also because of the increasing stress and burnout rates here in the Netherlands, and especially due to these uncertain times with Corona, with all the uncertainty maybe in the job market, a potential economic crisis is really interesting and also crucial to maintain all energy levels and to become more resilient and to to cope with stress more effectively. So I hope to share with you some insights I gathered over the last couple of years to help you with this, so you can have an amazing second half of the year and hopefully also after. Because what I'll show you in a second is that stress is a common denominator amongst millennials, and I'll try to explain so what are the rationale behind it. So why is it that the millennial generation, our generation, suffers more from stress than any other generation, and also provide you some solutions how to cope with this. First of all, maybe a bit of background. I also already had a gentle introduction from Joey. So my name is Jasper Scholten. I'm 33 years old, currently living in Schorl. I just moved a couple of months ago from Amsterdam to more to the seaside to get some more headspace during the Corona event, and become more creative, have more inspiration to create more content, because this is my personal aim for the next year. But the reason, some may call me a millennial guru or something else, is that I made a choice about 4.5 years ago. I worked at a big corporate, worked in HR in their graduate program, and at some point I really felt, is this it? I had a strong, as I may call it, a quarter-life crisis. On paper, I had everything I wanted, a proper salary, I bought my own house in Amsterdam, I could go on holiday multiple times a year, but somewhere deep inside I wasn't feeling satisfied. I wasn't really happy, and that started I started to question myself around it. So how can that be? If you have everything I ever wanted, how can it be that I'm not really satisfied? So I decided to quit my job, and I soon found out that I wasn't the only millennial who was coping with a quarter-life crisis, because in early 2016, the CBS, so the Central Bureau of Statistics, and also Arbonet, who govern the whole data around the labor force in the Netherlands, they came out with pretty disturbing data. And also, sorry for because the data I gathered is in Dutch, but this graph shows actually the development of burnout symptoms in the Netherlands. And what struck me is that from 2016, so when actually the first time these data were shown, there's a trend breach. In 2015, 2016 is that, before it was more the 50-plus-year-olds who covered the most from stress and burnouts. But from 2006 to 2016, the age group between 25 and 35, they took over this this not so humble position. And I started to wonder, so okay, we have this quarter-life crisis camp, this is a ZIT camp, and we also have this huge stress camp, because one of the data that really struck me was that about 100,000 people of millennials here in the Netherlands are sitting at home due to too much stress. So you can compare it to a city like Delft, which is close by here, that all the inhabitants, the citizens of Delft, are millennials sitting at home, maybe watching Netflix, maybe even can't even watching Netflix because they're sitting at home with the burnout. And so this gathers a bit of the scope and also the landscape. And to compare this, so there are approximately 3.1 million millennials here in the Netherlands. So approximately 3% has a burnout. So this is huge. And I thought, okay, if this is already happening in 2016, what will happen in the next couple of years? And well, if you see the graph, the numbers have been increasing, unfortunately. And what is also pretty disturbing is that the blue line, so the 15-25-year-olds, have been increasing the most the last couple of years. So these two camps, so the is it camp and the stress camp, made me to dive into the whole millennial subject, and made me write a book called The Millennial Mystery. And ever since, I've been giving various presentations and consultancy services to actually to create more awareness what's going on, because also, and maybe you've seen for yourself or you experience it yourself, that especially in a lot of organizations, the retention rates are low. We quit a job much more easily, and also organizations are really are dazzled. Okay, what's about this generation that we can't stick, or within 2 or 3 years we're sitting at home with the burnout. So they label us as tiresome, as spoiled, whatsoever. But there's an underlying reason for this, and this is also what I want to share with you in the next couple of minutes. So to give you a bit of a background, so we've seen the stress numbers increasing. Well, when I dived into this topic to understand, okay, so what are the underlying reasons for these two camps? And because if we know the underlying causes, the underlying rationales, we can also come up with much more effective solutions. What I found out that the main factors causing stress are high expectations, perfectionism, fear of failure, the number of choices we have, and a lack of proper energy management. So take this into account if we dive a bit into the case study of millennials. So how can this be that, well, especially millennials suffer from this much more? Well, to frame a bit, to shape a bit of the context, for me, the millennials, because but I thought millennials were from 1980. Well, I say that from 1985 is from the research I got from Art Bondekoning. He's the first one who's ever been done a PhD on generations. And what he and other sociologists, so sociologists are actually psychologists who focus on the broader group, they found out that every generation, approximately in the Netherlands here, every 15 years, they have certain characteristics. Well, for millennials, we're purpose-driven, focus on instant gratification. We're communal, have a very sense of we like to be authentic. We all have a strong ambition, and we are notorious doubters. So the question, and there's also a question I would like to ask from you to type in the form below, is to say, okay, well, what are the reason you think these characteristics come into play? So why do millennials have these characteristics? What are the two main factors explaining this? So please leave a comment below to see what it could be. The amount of choices, yeah, that's an interesting one.
Maybe they want something different from the older generations.
Sorry?
Maybe they want something different from the older generations.
Yeah, they want something else, yeah, from other generations. So the context has changed, definitely.
Someone else says perhaps economic growth, so much as possible.
Yeah, so the economic growth, definitely. So the prosperity also creates a whole different mindset and attitude towards the choices in life we have, the chances we have for ourselves, definitely.
Last one. It's
Yeah.
choices in social media, comparisons, education, and social media.
Very interesting factors, definitely. Yeah, so for me, it comes actually down to two main silos, if I call it. So it's called more the nurturing, so the upbringing. So what are the type of norms and values we have? And as we see later, these norms and values, they drive our behavior for a large degree. And well, what sociologists found out, and of course, maybe you resemble to a couple of them, maybe you don't feel any resemblance at all, but a lot of millennials here in the Netherlands grow up from the parents with the values, okay, well, just do what makes you happy. You're unique, you're special. And also on in the education, we were always having this question, okay, what did you do this weekend? How do you feel? What was it? That was actually, we're the first generation who ever got this personal attention that much. But also the norm, okay, well, success leads to happiness. If you succeed, you will be happy. If you have a big car, if you have enough money, you will be happy. But also sky is the limit. And from our parents, who also grew up with the parents, well, maybe also suffered the Second World War, or maybe some other trauma, that they said, okay, well, certainty is not a given. So this is the sort of mindset we've been given and being thrown into the world. Well, and what type of world did we grow up in? Well, a world, indeed, what people mention is that there's a lot of prosperity. So we always have seen this economic uptrend of the housing market, the stock market, etc. But also there was much more focus on individualism, multiculturalism grew up, so that also created this sense of we. The competition, which also may be an interesting data point to understand. So in 1960, about 4% of the population was higher educated, so in the Netherlands, so HBO+. And for the Millennial generation, curious also to see what you think, how many are higher educated. Due to time, I'll share with you the outcome now, and it's 46%. Amongst 48% of the women amongst the Millennial generation. So, whereas in about 20, 30 years ago, okay, well, if you have an HBO or maybe you graduate from university, you may get to a bank or become a lawyer. But today, the whole landscape changed. There are so many people with a higher education degree, so that's created also a lot of competition. And well, all these things together, they created the sense, okay, that we can become anything we want, become happy, so there's a lot of sense of purpose. So this is actually explaining the characteristics of millennials. If you look back to the main factors, and if you also compare it to the norms and values we just saw, is that, so do what makes you happy, you're unique, success leads to happiness. It creates a lot of high expectations about life, because if there's so many opportunities in life and you're special and you can do anything you want and you don't succeed in life, there's only one person you can held accountable for, and that's yourself. So that creates a stress, that creates a burden, and that also creates perfectionism. So I should be doing this right. There's the counterpart or the consequence of perfectionism is also often the fear of failure. So okay, but what happens if I'm not succeeding? What happens with my life? Is my life over, etc.? Well, prosperity also leads to the number of choices. So the number of peanut butter jars to a crisps package. Yeah, well, we can choose from 20, 30. So how do you make the best solution? That also can create some stress. And also lack of energy management with social media, with all the stimuli we get every day. There's as I call the production of stimuli has grown exponentially, but our brain hasn't grown exponentially to receive that enormous, tsunami flow of stimuli we receive. So that also stresses all our system, our body. So this is the reason why millennials are more prone to stress, actually. Okay, so what can we do? So I want to focus more on the psychological part, as mentioned, because there's so many points there from a biological point of view, neurological, but I want to focus more, I want to share with you some insight on the psychological part. And this is a model I found out during my research, and this is a model I wish I knew before, because this explains so much for me. I call it the Coremodel. It exists in various shapes and forms. It's also a model has been actively used in cognitive behavior therapy. And this model actually says that all the results we have in life stems from the actions we do. So whether it's a promotion or, for example, a burnout, those can be a result, whether the one is positive or the one is negative, can stem from an action from, for example, from working hard. But the reason is, why do we work hard? That depends on the emotions we have. Do we have positive feelings or do we have negative feelings? In general, emotions are the physical reaction we have as a result of our thoughts. So do we have positive thoughts? Do we have empowering thoughts? Or do we have disempowering thoughts, even destructive thoughts? So for example, thoughts, okay, I should be able to do this. People expect this from me. Has a different type of emotion as a result of it. That, oh, I really feel empowered. I'm really good at this. So this also creates whether we have at the end a negative energy balance or a positive energy balance. And the thoughts in this model you can see as the belief systems or the convictions we have that become conscious. So the beliefs we have could be, for example, the beliefs, okay, I'm unique, I'm special, I should be able to do anything I want. Sky is the limit. So all these norms and values we got from our parents, but also from the media, from our friends, from our teachers, they eventually drive our behavior. And as I mentioned before, so there are a lot of beliefs instilled in us, especially in the first 7-8 years, in the first 8 years we have, and because after 8 years our neocortex is has finalized and everything, so afterwards we can more analyze the thoughts, but before everything we get into our system, we take as truth. So therefore it's also very challenging at some point also to cope with perfectionism or the fear of failure, because if you already have this belief instilled in you that you can become anything you want, and if the reality that you show, and especially due to enforced by social media where you see all the success around you, yeah, it's become very stressful. So that's one part I would like to mention. Hopefully this is helpful as well. But to give you also more of a personal experience how our thoughts create all our emotion, I would like to do a short exercise with you. And I would like to ask you to close your eyes for a moment and sit down up straight and try to breathe very slowly, more to your stomach, a bit down. And try if you can feel your feet. And try to see where your breathing is at. Is it up high near your throat, or is it more deeper towards your belly? And try if you can make your exhale a bit longer than your inhalation, so you relax more. Okay, hopefully you feel more relaxed now. What I'm going to do, because we see the people who are watching this show, what I would like to do is to give you a couple of seconds, and when I call out your name, you will get an invitation link of us to dial in here and sing a song for us, and the whole and everybody is watching. So I'll ask Joey to come up with a name. And if you hear your name, you will get an invitation link, and we will unmute you and invite you here to the studio to sing a song for everybody.
Vahit Namvari.
Okay, Farid. You have a bit of luck here today because we're not inviting you to the studio here, and this was more of a social experiment. And I'm also, wondering what the people aside you have experienced when I asked you this exercise, this practice. So what happened? What happened in your system when you were so relaxed, and I asked you to sing a song? Please leave a comment below.
I was stressed.
You were stressed. Yeah.
You mentioned panic as well.
Panic. Yeah. So how many of you noticed that your breathing increased?
Someone said I was thinking which song to sing.
Ah, yeah, that's a very good one. Yeah.
Other guy said, obviously says sunk into my chair. Sunk into his chair.
Ah.
Can you repeat that? Because they can't hear.
Okay. So one said, okay, I sunk into my chair. And also very curious, which one of you also started to think of a song you should sing?
So far one. Another guy said panic.
Panic.
But only one said that.
Only one was thinking about the song.
Yeah.
Great. So this is more of an experiment to see, okay, so how our thoughts actually drive our emotions and also our behavior. So the behavior like sinking in the chair, maybe you get panicked a bit, maybe, some feel, okay, this was my chance. If I finally got the opportunity to sing for this audience, or maybe some disappointment could be here as well. But it's more the interesting, okay, so what's happening in your system? So this is also one thing to understand this further a bit. Then the other point is about expectation management, because the expectation we have of life, like we can become anything we want if we work hard enough, if success leads to happiness, it's almost like a programmable thing that we have expectations of life, expectations of the work we have, the expectation of the dinner we attend tonight, expectations of our relationships. But expectations are always future projections, and not sure what your own experience is, but the reality is always different than the expectations you have. And this kind of leads to a disbalance, especially if, and I'm sorry for the spoiler alert, if you plan to read a lot of happiness books, there's one major happiness formula, and that's happiness is reality minus expectations. So the bigger your expectations are, the less likely it is that it will meet the reality you have. So you will have a negative experience, actually. So managing your expectations is really crucial to have a sense of clarity, to have a sense of satisfaction, a sense of happiness. So expectations is also a sense of a control mechanism, because we anticipate on the future, okay, how should we dress, how should we react, whether it's on a date or on a dinner and maybe a job interview. It does certainly have its benefits, but it can also be a constraining factor, because you also exclude yourself from all the things that can happen in between. So what can you do about it if you know that you're a perfectionist? Because a lot of perfectionists have a lot of high expectations of themselves and of the world. There are a couple of things. First of all, is to become more aware. So mindfulness really helps to more observe your thoughts. So what you can do is to ask yourself, so are these expectations I have of myself and of the world, are they realistic? Because if they're not, they aren't helping you. Actually, they're more digressing you. So are they helping you or are they obstructing me? This is a really interesting question you can ask yourself. And if they're obstructing me, why would you still listen to them? So that's one. What can also help is to prioritize expectation, because some expectations are good to have, because expectations can also lead, okay, I need to have a certain quality level for my work that you want to live up to. So that can also be a beneficial part. But as mentioned before, expectations can also help you, that obstruct your life and your work as well. So prioritize to see, okay, well, which expectations I want to live up to, and which expectation, especially the expectations other people have of you, maybe your parents, maybe your friends. It really gives you more inner peace if you can more let them go. What also is an interesting solution is to practice gratitude, because gratitude always focuses on the present moment. It makes you feel gratitude for what you have and where you are and who you are. While expectations always have this future projection. So to boost the reality, so if we go back to the equation, happiness, reality minus expectation, so what you can do is to limit your expectation, but you can also boost the reality you have. And you can do this by practicing gratitude. Another one solution what you can do is to celebrate mistakes, because, and especially for people who have a sense of fear of failure, failure is like, okay, it will mean to a lack of self-worth. So creating a habit or making a habit that failure is okay, failure is not a personal failure, it's a learning experience, can really help you to overcome some obstacles or maybe some invisible walls you would normally run into, but now you can climb over it and actually say, okay, well, this was it, and I learned from this, and I'll keep going on. So this is diminishing also the perfectionism, and also creates some space, some headspace, and also decrease your stress levels as well. Then another point I would like to make, also due to time, is to focus more on the choices, stress due to too much choices. And have any one of you seen the Paradox of Choice, the TED Talk? You can leave it in the comment below. It's a really interesting talk to see. No, not yet. The Paradox of Choice. Well, in very brief, this researcher found out that ideally we want to have as many choices as possible, because as many choices also have this inherent understanding that it has freedom. So if we have a lot of choices, we are more free. And to a sense of degree, that's true. But a lot of choices can also be very paralyzing. For example, if you go to a web shop, if you want to buy a new shirt or new jeans, and you can choose between 100 jeans or maybe 5, probably the 100 will give you a lot of stress. It's also with job opportunities, maybe on the dating market, whatsoever. A lot of choices also decreases the satisfaction you have, and also the stress level that will increase due to the increasing number of choices you have. So what researchers found out is that the optimum number of choices, what you should aim for, is between 3 and 5. And it also depends whether the number of dishes in a restaurant to then, for example, if you're looking for a white shirt, then 3 is more appropriate, while in a restaurant you would like to choose between 5 dishes to make the most optimal solution, the most optimal choice. So what can you do about this? So if you are more stressed because you can decide what you want, whether it's on a dating market, maybe in a job market, whatsoever, is to decrease the number of choices. So we call this refiltering. So for example, if you go, if you have for example, a web shop, the Zalando outcome as a model, if you select more filters, the number of options will decrease. So if you have a lot of options, just select more filters. And you can apply the same thing with a job. Okay, well, maybe in a certain area, maybe a certain income, maybe a certain organizational culture. That can also diminish the number of choices you have until you have 3 to 5 choices you can select from. If you have 1 or 2 choices, well, actually 1 choice isn't really a choice, but if you have approximately 2 choices, and especially a lot of perfectionists encounter this, is that you actually have too many filters being selected. So you don't have enough choices to select from. So defilter some of those choices you have will also give you more opportunities to select from, which also creates more contention about the choices you have afterwards. Due to time, because there's so many practices and solutions and insight I would like to share with you from with regards to stress and what you can do to make better choices. If you want to learn some more, I would highly recommend. Well, sorry for the non-Dutch listeners and speakers around here, to invite you to my podcast. Also share a lot of these insights on my new website at millennialmysterie.nl. You can also select for a co-inspiration group. So I have co-inspiration groups for 20 and 30-year-olds, and we focus every week. We focus on all the themes relating to work, relationships, and health. And every week is like a big team coaching event. You can also bring in your own case, so we can discuss with many more like-minded people these subjects. So this is a group more focused on people who want to focus more on the personal development, but do not want to invest in a one-to-one coaching or maybe in an expensive training program, but want to pursue their personal development pretty actively. So they have this weekly opportunity to attend. So we still have 20 minutes left. Are there any questions? Really happy to answer them. I'll just take a sip.
You can start off by asking a question. So thanks for your talk.
Thank you.
It's really insightful, and I think a lot of our community are dealing with these issues, maybe especially now during lockdown periods. Do you maybe have, especially during this time, any tips to not avoid stress, but maybe deal with it a little bit better?
Yeah, well, what I see, but also what I notice from myself is, especially the whole corona information gives a lot of anxiety, and you can see it in the supermarket when people are really stressed out if you don't keep the 1.5 meter distance. It's the result of the information, so the stimuli we get in. And I'm not saying this you should not believe the information I said, but I would highly recommend and suggest to limit the amount of information you get, or also just select a few sources that you think, okay, well, this is trustworthy information, and just follow that, because there's so much noise, there's so much information, and I experienced myself the first couple of weeks that I just want to understand it all and to see, okay, well, what are the data, what are the numbers showing? So diminishing your media time greatly enhances the your headspace as well, and enjoy more the sun in this type of year. Just go out more. That's especially in these times, I think it's the best way you can diminish the stress levels.
Okay, I have two questions from public. One is from Lodo. Said if he can join another generation by any chance, if that's possible. And the other one is from Abjasis. How do you support someone who is burned out without making them feel like something is wrong with them?
Okay, so the first question?
If they can join another generation.
If they can join another generation. The younger or older generation which they can join?
I don't know.
Okay.
Say another.
If you can send me an email, I'll be happy to accommodate some. So you can write an email to hello@Jasper Scholten.nl. And the second question was about how to see somebody. Assist. That's an interesting question. And so burnout is a pretty sensitive topic in the sense that there are a lot of degrees of burnout, because some have a burnout. To rephrase it a bit, burnout is a label that even psychologists and physicians, they don't understand it well enough, because there are so many symptoms that are similar, for example, to depressions or to other anomalies. So burnout is this big buzzword or this container word, as we call it, the Dutch expression, to label a fatigueness. So there's not one solution what you can do to assist someone, but so it depends on the degree. So if this person can't come out of bed, is this person be able to watch a television, go out? This is also the first signs you have to see. Okay, so what's the degree of burnout? And if a person is on a, perhaps I should ask you the question, because I can elaborate on this whole. But this person you have, you can access. What do you see is the type of degree of burnout? Is it really severe, or is this person already been coming out of the burnout? Because then I can give you more practical tips. Or we can do another question in between, and this person can.
Yeah, I've got one thing. So there's a story, and I don't know the exact like details anymore, but there's like a group of men, and they were locked up. I think was in a war or something, and they couldn't get out, so they couldn't go back to their families and all that stuff. And some of the people said like, okay, we're going to be out by Christmas. We're going to be out by Easter. And one guy said, I don't know when, but I believe I'll get out. And one by one, the men that said like, I'll be before my birthday or whatever, they had, what's the word? They got disappointed every time again, like, oh, it's not Christmas. Well, it will be Easter, it will be this and that. So they just broke down and didn't go well with them. And the guy that said, I believe I'll get out, he was doing really good and could handle the situation much better. So I think that's also with the corona lockdown. I think it's the same. Like we can think, we can go back partying in October, but maybe it's not realistic. So do you see that in your research, like in general, in all like goals we set, that we too much put unrealistic deadlines on things, which will cause disappointment every time again, which is actually, unnecessary and unrealistic, and because of the stress it brings with it.
Great question. So what I see that especially our generation has this idea that that life and the world is malleable. So we can construct everything we want in according to our preferences, but that's not how life works. So to say it in Dutch, so je hebt de maakbaarheid van het leven en ik geloof meer in de stuurbaarheid. How do you would translate stuurbaarheid? So more.
Not the malleableness of the world, but the direction you choose to take.
Yeah, indeed. So you can choose the direction, but you can't choose the landscape of the choices you have. And this is something we really have to learn as a generation. But to come back to the previous slide, the millennials, if you grow up, okay, you can become anything you want, and we grew up in this world where everything is possible. The belief that the world is malleable is a strong held belief. So this is a belief we have to transform, and that's also one of the beauties with personal development, is that you can transform the beliefs, whether it's a limiting belief or an enforcing belief. You can change it. It's like this hard disk we have in our system, in our mind, that we can tweak, that we can alter. So yeah, that's how I see the generation perspective. Okay, and that's really we have to do, because I think it's a great example to see. Okay, well, in October we can go partying, but if that's the expectation, but if the reality is that we can't, it will lead to dissatisfaction and disappointment. And yeah, that can even lead to a more of a societal sort of depression. Okay, how long are we in it? This sense of disparament will settle in at some point. So therefore, it's really, I think, and you point out a really interesting solution for that, to become more present and also become more, practice more gratitude. To see, okay, well, whatever is going on, I'm here, I have what I want, have family, I have friends around me. So focus on the things you do have instead of, well, the probable things you don't have in your circle of influence, as Stephen Covey calls it. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the answer. Yeah. So to the previous question of how do you assist somebody with a burnout, you asked for the level of their burnout, and this person replied, Monday to Friday, functional, but exhausted. So how would you categorize that?
And in the weekend?
Just sleeping and really unable to function.
Okay. Wow. So if I understand it correctly, so from a Monday to Friday, this person is still working, but really needs to recharge in the weekend. So this could also be that this person is already in a burnout, or is, well, in already for a long time in the orange or maybe even red zone, leading up to a burnout. So if you hear this, then I would really suggest to really take action, because if you go too much time into this red zone, because for some reason, if you look at the energy balances, this is also a really interesting exercise you can do for yourself. Take a look at your agenda, your diary, and write all the activities you have during the week, and state how many hours you practice it, and also be honest whether this activity gives you energy or it loses energy. And it's also really interesting, for example, if you at night, if you like to binge watch or something, and also really reflect on yourself, is binge watching give me energy or not? Or certain friends or certain type of people, are these people give me energy or not? Because if in this situation, there's this negative energy balance. So this person becomes in a negative energy spiral, which eventually the outcome is a burnout. Back to the question, so okay, what you can do is to be a friend or a family member and lovingly confront this person with this behavior and see, okay, well, you are over time borrowing your energy actually from the future, from your future self. So you will, and probably this person don't always see it because there's deadlines and there's expectations, maybe from work, maybe from the environment, that this person should be able to continue doing this, maybe financially. There's so many reasons why you continue the behavior, of course. So the best thing you can do is to lovingly confront this person, to say, okay, well, I care for you, so this is why I'm saying this, and focus on the things this person gives energy and really help or assist with that. But eventually, and this is the difficulty with this, it's our own personal responsibility. And what I've seen over the last years, I've spoken to maybe 100 persons who suffered from a burnout. At least 80% said, okay, well, this is a truly a big gift in the end. During all the suffering, after all the suffering and during all the suffering, well, not during, it's always afterwards, they said, okay, it's really an interesting gift, because I learned so much of myself, because I had the wrong priorities in life, because I was living my life to the expectations other people have of me. I wasn't true to myself, and now I am. So sometimes, and that's also very hard if you're close to somebody and you see somebody regressing, and people choose for that road. Yes, sometimes you also have to lovingly let go and, well, have them experience this journey. Yeah.
So I have a question about how you personally deal with stress. Do you feel, after doing all this research, after speaking to all these people and confronting maybe parts of yourself, have you recognized that it's helped you, or has it just made you more like confused, or or maybe has it raised different questions or harder questions? Like, I'm curious to know, or I can imagine that some people think, well, with everything that's going on and all this information that's coming, I'm afraid that I might get completely overwhelmed once I know all of these things?
Yeah, it's a good question. I had it in the beginning because there's so much literature and research that you come, so it becomes a mental thing again. So in the end, the solution is to get out of your head and be more present in your body. So for the last 4 years, I've been meditating every day. Breathing exercises really help. Be more in nature, but also practice that I quit my TV subscription. So those things are helping me to have this stable baseline. Does this mean that I never experience stress? No, definitely not, because I'm an entrepreneur as well. So I always feel responsible for the assignments I have. So I also have this strong perfectionism inside myself, but I've been able to learn to cope with it, and also the realization what I just mentioned, that you can alter these beliefs. So, for example, 4 years ago there was a big pleaser inside of me. I was always, at least a lot of the time, always asking for recognitions and evaluation from other people, always making other people feel valued, feel recognized. But I understand at a certain point that this actually came out from a lack of myself. So there was this hole inside myself. I want to try to fill in with a recognition from other people instead of filling this gap, this hole myself. So practicing gratitude, meditate more, do more the things where I get energy from. Start to fill this hole, and this gives me more inner peace, more focus. But if I have deadlines, I still have this stress, and sometimes I work 40, 50 hours a day, and I have this voice and say, okay, you have to de-stress a bit or relax a bit. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But for me, life is a journey, and I understand, especially due to meditation, my baseline is increasing, and that's a practice that takes months, years. So that's it's a life habit, I guess. Yeah.
Cool. On Facebook or?
Yes, Facebook.
So Iris is wondering, she's saying, I'm curious. If the earlier you recognize a burnout, does that mean it takes less time to recover? For instance, 4 months instead of a year?
Thank you, Iris. Also from other people already mentioned who commented. Thanks for your questions. Yes, indeed. So the sooner or the less time you are in what I call the orange zone or the red zone, the less time it will take to recover. So become more, have a more preventive approach instead of a curative approach. Really helps you to also to sustain your performance. Also have this more high performance mindset. For example, if you have a busy job and you wanna sporting at a high level, it's really important to have this balance between peak performance and relaxation. So if you focus on that, or see the symptoms yourself, and try to do the preventive practices with, for example, nature or meditation, you can endure it without having to suffer from burnout. So yeah, good question.
Thanks, Iris. Do we have any other questions from our audience?
Not here. But I was wondering,
Yes.
because obviously this is kind of an individual journey, but how can we do like a society, because that's also a big cause of stress on people. So what can we change? I think that's also a big problem with dealing with stress.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So what can we do as an individual level, but also on a collective level? The difficulty with that is that we can't really enforce our beliefs or practices on other people. I think the most empowering thing we can do is to become a role model for others. So for example, we can protest for policy changes or for meditation in schools or whatsoever, but this also creates a counter a counterforce. And although the intention is really good, I think the best way is the network effect. So, for example, if all of us are living this healthy lifestyle, we inspire at least 5 to 10 other people. And if they start to use it, we'll spread it, and it grows exponentially. So, ideally, I would like to live in a world where we have less production stimuli. But I think the first, as Michael Jackson says, it start with the man in the mirror, and eventually everybody will follow. So, that's the answer.
And to what extent do you think this is a privileged problem? Like, people who are maybe not able to access the privilege and the luxuries that we can afford, or that some of us can afford. Has in your research also shown that people are in our generation also dealing with these same issues regardless, or not?
Very interesting question. Yes, I see stress as a first world problem, if you can call it that way. But if you look at the data that, especially in the Netherlands, that 100,000 people are sitting at home, for me this is not a luxury problem; it's a societal problem. And yes, it's the result of the society we live, the prosperous, maybe the luxurious society we live in, and this is a symptom that our system isn't really functioning as it should, I would say. Because if you look, for example, to the data in Asia, burnouts are there as well, and maybe some of the students even work harder, but the reason is that they can endure it a bit longer, although the suicide rate is much higher, is that they have different belief systems. Because we have the belief system, okay, we can become anything we want. We are in the Maslow pyramid. We're on the top rank. So we don't have any generation before us who found a collective answer to how do you focus on self-empowerment, on self-actualization. We are the first generation who have to find that answer as a collective. Whereas in other parts of the world, they can benchmark the Western world. Okay, well, how do middle class, for example, in China, that every day millions of people join the middle class? Yeah, that also creates some challenges and also opportunities. But we're in this new domain. We are pioneering in a sense. So that makes it difficult. As well. But in the end, stress is the result of the luxurious society we live in. That's true.
So what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is because we're pioneering, we can't do it alone. So we have to look for connections, and we have to join movements, or we have to do something that allows us to feel as though we're in this together. Is that correct? Because I know that personally I feel a very strong connection to community and to movements and to change, even though I understand that, I can't change the world, but I would like to do what I can. And I'm curious if that's also something that you think is something good, or if we should actually stop and focus more on the individual instead of putting ourselves out there constantly. I think those are two ways in which we're moving both ways simultaneously. And in your experience, do you think it would be better to move in one lane or in the other?
Good question. I'm not sure whether there's one perfect solution. As with all things in life, where it's all connected. We can't focus on just the individual part because it's human discussion. Are we individuals or are we group creatures? We're both, and we can't neglect one side. We're both, and in Dutch, I use often this expression. So the first thing, especially for example, to come up with a solution, is to first to herkennen het en dan vervolgens erkennen het. So first to recognize it and then to actually validate it, acknowledge it. Yes, and I think from a societal point of view, so the last couple of years, we started to recognize it. And for the last years, and especially with my assignments in companies, more and more, especially HR managers, when they see the data with attrition, people get on sick leave, people leaving their job quite early, is that there becomes more acknowledgement. But that takes time. So on an individual way, you can make the progress much faster, and on society, it takes time. But I think we're moving in the right direction, but it also depends, okay, well, how do we connect with one another? So indeed, in the community or with friends, or the beautiful question we had before of assisting your friends. If you feel, okay, we're in this together, if you become this role model, I think we can make beautiful changes, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for this. I think I'm looking at the team. I think we're going to wrap up now. Yeah? Okay, so then I'm going to move to the other side of the table. I'm going to give this to you. Yeah. All right, so thank you to everybody who joined. I want to give a big shout out to our team. Elina, Iskandar, Titus, Lewis, Marcella, and Lodo. These are the people who are making it happen throughout the Corona crisis, and we're coming together digitally and in person when we can, and I'm super grateful that we get to do this here. So shout out to the team. And on that note, we hope to see you next time. It will probably be another virtual event, but yeah, nothing is certain. So stay in touch. And keep following us on our social channels, and we will see you very soon. Have a good Friday, guys.
That things aren't going my way, 'cause that would be boring. Spend my last cent on cheese and champagne. What a wonderful morning. Never mind, she declined to the first date. It was only on my birthday. Never mind.